filed taxes this past week and you're already wondering when you're going to get your tax refunds.
And thanks to our tax cuts, millions of Americans will soon receive record-setting tax refunds. You're going to get a lot of tax refunds.
Hello, what's up, beautiful and amazing people? Thank you so much, guys, for always watching. Thank you for subscribing. And guys, kindly watch the video to the end, because in today's video we are talking about something that is amazing, and that is the 26 tax refunds which has officially hit the accounts of the American people. And yes, they are record breaking. Before the media tries to downplay this story, or rather bury it under 10 or 20 other headlines, I want us to be clear about this, because this is not random. It's not luck. It is policy. So let's watch these videos. Let's listen to them keenly. And then I'll come back and do more analysis of how I've understood all this narrative. So let's jump.
This will be the largest refunds that Americans have ever received. In fact, tax refunds are being increased 26% on average because of the no tax on tips, the no tax on overtime, the tax relief for seniors, expanding and increasing the child tax credit, expanding and increasing the standard deduction, and making sure that tax rates did not go up. These are things that people are experiencing right now. Just in the first pay period of this year, they're already seeing bigger paychecks alone.
And thanks to our tax cuts, millions of Americans will soon receive record-setting tax refunds. You're going to get a lot of tax refunds, with the average refund expected to be over $1,000 higher than it has been at any time. So we're going to be getting some pretty good refunds, a lot of people.
Are Americans really going to get the biggest tax refunds in history? Well, if you've seen this clip from the Secretary of the Treasury, you might be wondering if this is real.
I can see that we're going to have a gigantic refund year in the first quarter because no one changed working Americans did not change their withholding. So I think households could see, depending on the number of workers, $1,000, $2,000 refunds.
We agree. There are some massive tax changes that are coming because of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. And like the Treasury Secretary said, most Americans did not adjust their paychecks to withhold or to change their withholdings to get more money back. The result is that you are going to get a bigger tax refund. So here are the reasons why, and we have the top 6 biggest changes that are going to make your tax refund bigger. Number 1 is the no tax on tips. Number 2, no tax on overtime up to $25,000. Number 3, for the first time ever, auto loan interest that you paid could be tax deductible up to $10,000. Number 4, if you're old, seniors can deduct $6,000 or $12,000 just for being old. Number 5, the SALT deduction, state and local taxes, increased 4x from $10,000 to $40,000. So if you live on the coast, California, New York, any of those high tax areas, you'll get a bigger deduction for the state taxes you paid. And finally, number 6, the child tax credit increased to $2,200 from $2,000. So that's another extra $200 in your pocket. So all these changes combined will result in you having a bigger tax refund this year. But if you want bigger paychecks instead, make sure you're submitting a new form W-4 to your employer right now in January so that you can actually get bigger paychecks and a less tax refund next year. Let me know your thoughts. Send this to a friend that needs to see it. And as always, please like, subscribe, and follow, and we'll bring you the latest in higher education and personal finance news.
The 2026 tax season is open, and tax refunds are expected to be the largest ever because of the big beautiful bill. Thanks, Trump and Republicans. All right, bootlicker, I forgot we cut taxes for billionaires that were funded by Medicaid and SNAP cuts. We cut taxes across the board for everyone. The 7 major changes were increasing the child tax credit, the standard deduction, the deduction cap on state and local taxes, an additional $6,000 deduction for seniors, a new auto loan interest deduction, no tax on tips and overtime. Okay, but again, if you add up all those numbers, these tax cuts disproportionately help the richest Americans. That's largely because the bill also locked in Trump's tax cuts from 2017, which dropped income tax rates across the board, and because the top 50% of Americans pay 97% of income taxes, the top 1% 40% across the board. Tax cuts, of course, disproportionately help those who pay disproportionately the majority of taxes. Wow, thank you for explaining how regressive tax cuts work. This was one of the most regressive bills in decades because we funded these tax cuts by cutting Medicaid between $700 billion to $1 trillion and SNAP between $200 and $300 billion over the next 10 years, which is why the poorest Americans lose overall from this bill and the richest gain. Look, those cuts were primarily work requirements, which I think most Americans support. The richest richest ones? Sure. The ones on Medicaid or SNAP? No. This was to make the program sustainable in the long haul for those who need it. Did you forget the big beautiful bill is expected to add $3.4 trillion to the deficit? Very sustainable. That discounts the growth that will come from the bill and includes preventing a tax increase as the largest contributor to the deficit. But overall, individual income taxes for 2025 are expected to be $129 billion less than last year. And because the IRS didn't change withholding tables after the law was passed, refunds will be on average $1,000 more than last year. Okay, again, the richest Americans will be very happy. It'll make any income tax paying American very happy. Great, yeah, but the bottom 20% of Americans who pay little income taxes because they are already barely scraping by get nothing, while Silicon Valley billionaires will get their tax refund check in the mail. If you're looking at the extreme, sure, but how about the average middle class family? They like tax refunds too. Not when they learn it's being paid for by kicking 15 million people off their health care. It's called work requirements. It's more than that. Can we just be happy that tax refunds will be high? Nothing is free in life. You're the perfect person to say that. Yeah.
Here's everything you need to know in order to get the $8,231 earned income tax credit this tax season. For those of you who don't know, Donald Trump has said that this tax season you will be receiving the greatest tax refund that you have ever gotten. And by greatest, I mean largest. The earned income tax credit is for people who have children or who have earned income that are low to moderate income individuals. The way this works, as you can see behind me, is you will have a certain number of children, and based upon that certain amount of children, you can get anywhere from $664 all the way up to $8,231. The catch, though, is that you need to make under this amount of money adjusted gross income. That's if you're single, head of household, or widowed. If you are married filing jointly, this is how much money you need to make, as if you have 0 kids, if you have 1 kid, if you have 2 kids, or if you have 3 or more kids. Keep in mind, this is adjusted gross income. That is different than earned income. Some other qualifications is at the end of 2026, your kid must be under age 19 and under age 24 if they are a full-time student in order to qualify as a kid. They need to live with you at least 6 months throughout the year, and they can't have investment income that is greater than $12,200. They also need to be a legal U.S. citizen or have a legal EITN number. My name's Gavin. I have the fastest growing tax page on social media. If you want to join our community, give me a follow.
All right. Hey, Pookie Pop, we go through this every year. Listen up and listen up good, because I'm going to say it once and only once. IRS didn't open until the 26th. Now, my job wasn't playing with the W-2s and mailing them out. I used ADP, the portal. So my story may not be your story. No shade, not being shady. But some jobs take forever to mail the shit out. The job that I had last year, they weren't playing this year. So thank God for that, because I need that money. I need that money, just like all of us do. No shade. So my return was just received like a couple of days ago. As soon as the IRS got back in the swing of things, they received my return and they accepted it. So my state is still pending because I'm in Georgia. Now, the state gonna take the longest because I don't know why. You would think federal would take longer than state, but state would take longer because state's still pending right now. So yeah. Check y'all, thing to see if they have accepted anything, okay? And I'll be back with y'all. Now leave it alone after you done checked it one time. Leave it alone. Because y'all do this every year. It's not going to change every fucking day. It's just not. It's not feasible. And if there's a PATH Act this year, we're all getting paid at the end of February. There's no way around it. You can call, you can fuss, you can scream, you can write a message in the blimp. The people not going to go no faster. No shame. Good night.
The IRS began processing tax returns yesterday, January the 26th. You submitted your tax return and it has been accepted. What do you do now? Well, first you do the things to my buttons. And then you wait, good friend. Absolutely. Then you wait. They just started yesterday. You been on that website checking your status already? Let's talk about time frames. Now, if you thought something was going to magically appear on the day they began processing, I'm sorry, good friend, but you were wrong. What the? If you're waiting on your account transcript to update, I would suggest allowing about a week before you start checking. A week to 2 weeks, okay? We also know that we're waiting for the PATH Act to lift, so you should definitely not be expecting any 846s at this time. We have to wait for the PATH Act lift before you get an update with a refund code on your account transcript. Also be mindful that when the PATH Act lifts, other things take place as well, like you could get a 570. You could also be requested to verify your tax return with the Taxpayer Protection Program. You could be audited, or you could receive an 810. So although tax season has officially started, we're still going to have to exercise our patience right now, good friends. So all my super early filers, yeah, you still got to wait right along with the rest of my good friends, okay? Do not forget to do things to my buttons. Have a good day, good friend.
The good news about this year's upcoming tax season is that the average U.S. taxpayer is expected to receive a refund of between $300 and $1,000 more than last year's. The bad news is that many people may find the tax filing process this year messy and confusing. Here's what you need to know. First, anyone wanting to claim many of the new deductions will need to fill out a new IRS form called the Schedule 1-A. Unfortunately, as of today, the first part of January, the form is not yet available, but it should be soon. Next, it'll be time to wade through the deductions. There's the much talked about no tax on tips and no tax on overtime. There's the less talked about no tax on car loan interest. There's also a new additional $6,000 deduction for many people who are ages 65 and older. The standardized deduction for everyone increases by $750 to $15,750. The child tax credit increases by $200 to $2,200. And although we've been talking about federal taxes, let's not forget that the state of Oregon is issuing a kicker refund this year. That could amount to hundreds of dollars back in your pocket, but you'll have to file a state tax return to get it. You can read more about all of this in my story on OregonLive.com/business.
It's only my second full day of being unemployed, but I just have so much to be thankful for this morning. Like, I am so thankful to no longer be paying into a system where billions of dollars are going to go overseas and not stay here to help my fellow American. Like, I'm so grateful to not be paying 1 cent to an internal revenue system that is being sued by the administration for $10 billion. And if you didn't hear, President Trump is suing the American IRS for $10 billion for disclosing his financial records and tax information without any reason. So should he win, which is very likely seeing as how his administration oversees this IRS, but should he win, he's going to walk away with $10 billion of American taxpayer money, which means that not only are billions of dollars going overseas to Argentina, overseas to Israel, but billions of dollars are going to all of these oligarchs and politicians and leaders that are in the top 1% in America. And I'm just really glad and thankful to not be participating in this sham of an American political system and internal revenue system anymore, especially when our own president is suing us for our money, and he just sued the DOJ for like $330 million. Like, are you guys tired yet? God bless America.
Next Monday, January 26th, tax season officially begins in America. And for many people, it's a dreaded time. It's a moment that they don't celebrate. But this year, there's going to be lots of happy surprises. Thanks to our Working Families Tax Cut, tens of millions of American families are going to see bigger paychecks. They're going to see bigger tax refunds. And let me give you a couple of numbers real quick. $4,000. That's the value of the average tax refund for Americans this year. $100 billion. That's the estimated total of 2025 tax refunds for families. $10,000, the average increase in annual take-home pay for working families. Think of it, $10,000 is the average across the country. 15%, the average tax cut for families earning between $15,000 and $80,000 annually.
Everyone's asking the wrong question this tax season. It's not, why is my refund bigger? It's, why did the government hold so much of my money? This year, a lot of tax filers are seeing larger refunds, and it's not because they won at taxes. It's because the rules changed after your paycheck was already taxed. New tax law changes reduced how much many people actually owe, but payroll withholding didn't adjust fast enough. So all year long, your employer kept withholding at old rates while your real tax bill was lower. That gap, That's your refund. This is especially hitting people with kids, workers with overtime or tips, and anyone benefiting from expanded deductions or credits. Here's the part most people miss. A big refund doesn't mean you paid less during the year. It means you overpaid and are just now getting it back interest-free. And next year, refunds may shrink again, not because taxes went up, but because withholding finally catches up. So enjoy the refund, but understand what it really is. Your money, late. Follow for tax truths they don't explain on the form.
Doing is more important. So we're actually seeing consumer spending is quite strong, job growth is quite strong. So I think we will see the survey numbers start picking up. I think 2026 is going to be a great year. I'm also the IRS commissioner, so I can see that we're probably going to have between another 100, 150 billion of refunds, a lot of that going to working families based on the president's signature policies: no tax and tips, no tax and overtime, no tax and Social Security, deductibility of auto loans for American-made cars. So it's going to be a big refund season. Working Americans will reset their withholding. And I tell everyone, do have a look at your withholding. So that will give you a weekly fill-up or monthly fill-up in wages. So I think we are containing costs.
Filed taxes this past week and you're already wondering when you're going to get your tax refund, stop, because you're going to see delays. If you filed between January 26th and January 31st, you should be receiving your tax refund on February 6th or February 13th based upon how you file, unless you fall under the PATH Act. See, if you claimed the Earned Income Tax Credit or the Additional Child Tax Credit, there's a rule called the PATH Act that prohibits the IRS from sending you your tax refund until the middle of February. The reason for this is because the IRS wants to go and verify whether or not you've committed fraud specifically for those types of credits, so they hold on to your tax return a little bit longer, and they also hold on to your refund. Easy way to figure out if this is impacting you is to go to the irs.gov website, log into your account, and see what codes they're giving you. And also, if you want to follow the fastest growing tax community on all of social media, hit that follow and comment tax refund to join my waitlist.
Tell your retired parents, aunts, uncles, grannies, grandpas about the $6,000 senior deduction that is brand new, announced by the IRS starting for this tax season 2026. That means they can claim this extra bonus deduction that was previously not available, and most people don't know about it. However, it is super important because it's a nice chunk of money that you're going to be able to save on taxes because of the senior bonus deduction. Now it's $6,000 if you file single, $12,000 if you file joint. This doesn't mean that you don't pay any tax on your other income. There is a limit of $75,000 that you have to stay under for you to claim that full deduction. Otherwise, you may not be able to claim it. And if you have other income, other pension funds, 401k, even your Social Security income, that may be taxable, but this extra deduction will lower that taxes. And if only you get Social Security income, then they probably will pay no tax. So make sure you remind your elderly folks about this because this is brand new for this year.
You mentioned that the GST credit is not a lot at an individual level, but the PBO had a report out today that from a fiscal perspective, it's $12.5 billion almost, higher than what the government had said. Do you have concerns about the fiscal cost and the fact that there's been no plan as to where that money is coming from?
Well, there's no question that another $12 billion by the time this grocery rebate is complete. By the way, we had a federal budget less than 4 weeks ago. The ink is not even dry on that federal budget, and this is another $12 billion of unaccounted spending that is going to drive up the price. Every dollar spent by the federal government is a dollar out of the pockets of Canadians. And so we absolutely do have concerns about it. And those concerns are that the inflationary spending of the government is going to add more to grocery prices, add more to housing prices, add more to the unaffordability crisis that Canadians are feeling from coast to coast to coast.
Thank you, amazing people, for watching. I hope you really understood, right? So across the entire America, actually these people are seeing refunds that are bigger than expected. They did not expect this. And in many cases, the largest that they have received in so many years. For most of them, working families or those families who have someone that work, they are actually getting some relief. Even if it was you would have felt the relief. Small business owners are actually breathing again. People that actually produce value in America are finally seeing money returned to them. People that provide value and they are not being swallowed up by bureaucracy. What an amazing policy that has been initiated and implemented by the current government. It's amazing. So I will say, when we talk about this entire story, it brings the difference. That is, difference when a tax policy prioritizes workers over government expansion. That's the difference that we are seeing here. So this is what MAGA supporters have been yearning. They have been waiting for this for so long. And of course, when you lower the burden on American people get to spend more, business get to expand because they are spending, and the economy moves without, micromanaging every dollar. So refunds are not just numbers. They are proof that America first economic still work. The economy of America works. And I don't know if you've noticed something very important, that when Americans keep more of their own money, confidence rises. Not just them, everybody around the world. It's only that our video today focuses on the American people. And that confidence does not come from speeches, it comes from results. So I don't know how the media will view this, but for some, I would say for the naysayers or those who don't support this initiative, they'll be like, this thing is temporary, it is unsustainable, it's uneven. But the truth of the matter is, nobody will tell you the truth. And that is, for so many years, there has been overtaxation that has always created pressure in the first place. So for a long period of time, tax season in America always felt like a punishment, which shouldn't have been the case. In 26, so many Americans finally feel relieved. They feel like the government is doing something very fair. They feel like a burden has been just taken down from them, which is great. So, that is why we are talking about this conversation today, because as much as others will be happy, others will kind of feel uncomfortable about it. So, of course, as a voter, if you see that the taxes have been lowered, it's very easy for you to understand so many things, and of course, to appreciate and also get to give back the same government, even if it will be taken up by, or if another person will be selected so that they can vie. Anyway, when something like this happens, narratives always start to just fall or collapse on their own without the initiative of anybody. My good people, the 2026 tax refunds are record breaking, honestly speaking. People are getting huge deposits in their accounts that they are literally shocked. Anyway, more importantly in this particular video of ours is that I want to remind you that when the government steps back, Americans tend to step up. And that is what exactly is happening. That is the core of the MAGA supporters' message. Not just noise, not an hype. It's just results only. So, my good people, if this trend continues like this from 26 going on, then one thing will be clear, that the American taxpayer is finally being heard. American taxpayers are finally being heard. Thank you so much if you watched the clip up to this point. I appreciate your presence. I'll see you in the next video.